So now we should be recording.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now we're looking at, so I'm just going to hold this right here. And then if anybody missed this session and needs the answers, they can just look right here. And this is so simple. I think that everybody will be able to figure out where these answers that came from. So this will be recorded. The more trickier part is this idea of before trade and after trade. And if we go back to the problem, it's telling us if the terms of trade are such that one car can be exchanged for one tractor. Okay, so that's what we're saying we're going to trade.
Wait.
And then we want to explain how Atlantis will benefit from a trade. So the way you really analyze or compute that, the easiest way to do it, to make sure you don't make a mistake, is you look at before trade and then you compare that with after trade. And after trade is given here, 1-to-1, right? One car costs one tractor, okay? Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So Atlantis before trade, when they just produce domestically and don't export or import anything, we've already figured out because of the curves, because of the production possibilities curve, that one car costs 1/3 of a tractor. Okay, so. But actually, I did this. Let's see. I know what I did. I did the tractors because I wanted to show you who had the advantage. So here I used a tractor. Okay, fine. So here I showed, and you can do tractors and cars for both if you want. I just didn't. I did it with one tractor for Atlantis because they're going to be better off after trade if they trade a car for a tractor, if they export a car for a tractor, because on their own, one tractor costs 3 cars, right? Whoops, sorry. Give me 1 second here. Order. Okay. So on their own, but then when we're given the trade situation where they can trade one tractor for one car. So what they're going to do is they're going to import tractors because they only have to spend one car. They can send one car to Xanadu and get one tractor versus on their own giving up 3 cars to get one tractor. So they're going to benefit by a trade because a tractor will cost only 1 car if they trade and 3 cars if they don't. Does that make sense?
Yes.
If I probably overexplained it. Okay. Now, Xanadu, it doesn't ask you, but I wanted to show you. That's the thing. The question, this particular question only asks you about Atlantis, but, this is just one example of a free response. 1 year, next year, they might ask you about the other country. So I want you to be able to do both, right? So Xanadu is going to benefit by exporting tractors because on their own, if they want a car, it's going to cost them 2 tractors, right? And but they can get a tractor from Atlantis. I'm sorry, I said it backwards. They can get a car from Atlantis for only 1 tractor, right? So they're going to benefit from trade as well by exporting the tractors. So they've only got to export 1 tractor to get a car if they trade. If they don't trade, 1 car is going to cost them 2, right? Because we figured that out up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So is there anything about that you guys want me to go back over that you don't understand. I believe that answers all the questions.
I think I missed question C. I don't have the answer to that one.
Okay. Well, whatever. Well, the short answer is whatever a country is going to export tractors is going to import cars in this scenario, because we're thinking about trading tractors for cars, right?
Okay.
So if they specialize, and you come back over here and look what we do. So let me go back. So the question was, which country is going to import cars? Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. So it's going to be Xanadu, because they're going to, if they traded a car, if they gave up one car in their own domestic production to produce tractors, they'd have to give up two tractors, right?
Okay.
But if they buy a car from Atlantis, if they import a car, it's only going to cost them one, because remember the terms of trade. I'm sorry, the terms of trade in the problem was given as 1-to-1.
Okay.
Right. Where is that? It says it here somewhere. Right here.
Okay.
Okay. But even if you don't know it's 1-to-1, you can know that whatever country has the comparative advantage. The way you explain C is if since let me go back again so I don't say it wrong. Since Xanadu has the comparative advantage in tractors, they're going to build more tractors and sell them for cars, and they're going to import cars. So they're going to import whatever they don't have so you could explain it like that. Because Xanadu, am I saying that right? Yeah, because Xanadu does not have the comparative advantage in cars, but does have them in tractors. They'll export tractors and import cars because they're much better at producing tractors than they are at cars.
Okay.
And Atlantis is better at producing cars. So they'll sell cars, they'll export cars to Xanadu. Xanadu will import cars because they're better at producing tractors, right? So does that help you answer C?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay.
I have a question for B.
Sure.
When it says using the concept of opportunity cost to explain our answer, should we write the ratio to justify why Atlantis has the comparative advantage for cars?
Yes. You want to just, right, exactly. You want to say by definition, whichever country has the lower opportunity cost has the comparative advantage. That's what comparative advantage means, right?
Okay.
So for a car, the cost is lower for Atlantis, 1/3 versus 2. So because of that, Atlantis has the comparative advantage in cars. And for tractors, Xanadu, it only costs Xanadu 1/2 a car. It costs Atlantis 3 cars. So the opportunity cost is lower for Xanadu. So by definition of what comparative advantage is, Xanadu has to have the comparative advantage in producing tractors.
Okay.
It's all about that. That's why I wanted to stress. If you understand how to compute opportunity cost, then you'll understand comparative advantage. Okay. Now, a couple other things. A country can have an absolute advantage in something, but not a comparative advantage. Like for example, you can have a country that has an absolute advantage in both, but not a comparative advantage in both. It is theoretically impossible in this type of a model for a country to have a comparative advantage in both. That's impossible. But it is very possible for a country to have the absolute advantage in both. Okay? You're going to do one for your quiz or for homework or for your quiz, I think looks like this. Sneak a preview, right? So obviously France has the absolute advantage in both, but not the comparative advantage, okay? Now, the other thing, these are not always going to be just straight production. It might be hours of production for one worker. It might be one worker working one day. It might be how many workers it takes to produce something. So there's different variations of this that can be tricky, and we'll work with these all year. So, but what I want you to start to see now is sort of the basic concept of absolute and comparative advantage in a two good model like this with two countries, and how to compute opportunity costs. Okay, looking at the ratios, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if this was 100 and this was 10, then it would be 10 cars for every attractors. You know, it's just a simple ratio. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can either say goodbye, or I could go back over either problem 1 or problem 2, or I could go over some things you guys are not sure or want me to look at on the study guide. So it's really up to you what you want to do.
I understood problems 1 and 2, so.
Okay, so you're good, Sophie? Okay.
I watched the videos for problems 1 and 2, so I understand them.
And so
Yeah.
you were able to suffer through me on those videos. I was watching this. I'm trying to not have that southern nasal twang so much. It's weird when you hear yourself on video or whatever. Anyway, so is there anything on the study guide that you think you don't? I mean, you should be able to, by the way, if you watch all the Khan videos and read the book, this is all in there. But is there anything that you're reading here that you're not sure what I'm talking about, or you just want me to sort of clarify? I mean, this is just terms, right? Or how to take the quiz, or anything at all. And I'd be happy to answer it. I guess not, huh?
I'm good.
Okay. Now, just so you know, and I'll tell you guys since you're here, the quizzes are based on AP exam type of questions, so they're a little bit challenging, but you should, but they're doable. I mean, they're not going to be simple. I mean, you're going to have to think through it. So make sure you get a quiet spot. I don't mind at all if you use your book or your notes, but I don't really want you to do it as a group, okay? Because I know a lot of you are at the same school. Because if you do it as a group, it really won't help me understand where you need help, okay? Like so I need to know what you know individually, okay? So that's the only thing. And make sure you find somewhere where you have a minimum of an hour. I mean, you're going to have for this first quiz an hour and a half, and I also gave you an hour and a half on this second quiz as well. That time's going to start coming down as we go through the year, but make sure you give yourself at least an hour where you're not going to be disturbed. Because once the counter starts, you can't stop it and then pick it up again. You got to do the whole thing at once. Okay.
3 o'clock.
What?
I think that was someone's computer.
Okay. Yeah. Excuse me.
For the quiz, is it based on how many of the questions we get right?
Well, it's just simply going to be, let me bring it up. It's just simply going to be, it's 100, right? So if you miss 1, you get -4. If you miss 2, -8, and you miss, and then the out of 100, and then the free response are going to be very, very similar to 2 of your problems in your assignments, and they're 10 points. So you could potentially earn partial credit. Like if you get most of it right, but only miss one little part of it, part of it, you might get 8 out of 10 or something, like that. Okay.
And then
Now you'll know your score in the multiple choice right after you submit it, because what will happen is it will come back and will show you all the right answers, your answer, and for the multiple choice, I put a pretty detailed explanation of the right answer, and sometimes even why the wrong answers are the wrong answer. So it will be very helpful to you to read through the explanations after you submit the quiz. And then you can probably get a pretty good idea of how you're going to do on the short answers by just looking at the answers that I have and seeing if they're close to the answers that you have. I mean, they don't have to be exact, obviously, and I'll be lenient. If you have something that looks like a right answer or close to the right answer, I mean, it doesn't have to be exactly perfect. But if it's way off, then you can know that you're going to probably miss points on the short answer. And you can also look at the correct answers as soon as you submit it for the free response. You won't get your grade because I'll actually have to go in there and manually grade your short answer and your free response. But you'll know right away, as soon as you submit your quiz, how many of the multiple choices that you got right. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Can we get points back like after like makeup points or something?
This year I decided not to do that. Because what I want you to now, I'll certainly go over it if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to, I really think that if you really go over this study guide right here, because see, last year I didn't give a study guide, so you're not going to get a do-over. However, I'm giving you a lot of help here so you can focus your studying and not waste any of your time. And if you're studying what's on here, you're preparing for the quiz. You're using your time wisely. And if you know all this, then I don't know how in the world you won't do fairly well on the quiz. Okay. I mean, you're not, some of them are tricky, and you may get a little bit, confused on some of them. But if you really put the time in, if you've watched all these videos right here, these are really helpful. And the ones that, like obviously if you look at the study guide and you look at the ones that match up to like this one, this one, this one, this one, these right here, align with what I'm asking you to do on the quiz right here, right? So that gives you a big, strong hint. Maybe you need to watch all these twice, and then they're not that long, Okay, and then for here, just make sure you have a basic understanding of the model, and which is the supply curve, which is the demand curve, long run, short, make sure you have an understanding of what that is. And you should define this. I'm not trying to make this hard. What I'm really trying to do is have you learn it in such a way where you're simultaneously learning it comprehensively, but you're also focusing on what you need to know for the AP exam. Because I really want, if you get an A in the course, I want that to be a 5 on the exam, or at least a 4. I don't want somebody to get an A in the course and then get a 1 on the exam. That's not good. If you're able to earn an A in the course, that should tell me that you're going to do well on the exam. Okay, so I'm not necessarily teaching to the exam. I'm just focusing it. So you're not learning things that aren't going to be, you're not spending a lot of time on stuff that you really don't need to know. Because there's so much, there's just a lot that you could learn, but we have to pick and choose what we spend our time on. Now, don't forget about the discussions, okay? This is where you get a chance to sort of get outside the theory and talk and see more about how it works in real life, okay? Have you guys started reading the book?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you like it so far?
I like it. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's not a hard thing to read, and he's a good author, and he makes it kind of fun. Because you see that you see how important when you reread the book that economics is for real world quality of life, for real world problems that really matter. It's not just a whole bunch of graphs and theory. It actually has a real world applications. Okay, so if you guys don't have any other questions, I guess we can say good afternoon. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold on, guys, real quick though. Before you go, is there anybody here that wasn't here Tuesday?
Me.
I wasn't here on Tuesday.
Yeah, I wasn't here.
So let me give you, because this is part of your grade. So you were here, and who else? Katie?
Me, Catherine
Okay.
Miller.
Catherine. Oh, are you a Katie or But what do you like to be called?
Katie.
Okay, Katie. But you're in here as Catherine?
I
Yeah,
guess you're working, that might be the micro.
that might be the micro class.
Yeah, that's
It
the
is
micro class.
It is a micro club. What am I doing? Yeah, you're right. Sorry about that. Yeah, let me get the right one up here. That would be helpful, huh? You sure? Well, wait a minute. Why? Oh, weird. Okay, let me unless I put the file in the wrong place. Just give me 1 second here. Oh boy. This should be it.
I'm
Isn't
in,
this,
so maybe that's why it's.
isn't this you guys?
Yes, this one is.
Yeah,
This is it, right?
yeah.
Okay. So we have a Gracie right here. Okay, good. You, and we have,
I'm here
Yeah.
again.
there you go. Okay. So the only ones that haven't made it at all are, well, it's always the guys. What's up with the guys? Always the guys.
Want to write my name a second time?
Yeah, I do because that's I want to see, not so much for your grade, but I just want to see, I want to correlate, the folks that come in a lot, and see how they do compared to the ones who don't.
Okay.
Just to see how, if this is doing anybody any good. Because see, last year, just so you know, I had one student who made a 5, and she came into every one because it was not required. But she came in, anytime I had one, she would be in there, right? And she got a 5. Nobody else got it. The year before that, I had a very small class, and they came in a lot because I sort of emailed them individually and said, I need you to come in. And they all got 4s or 5s. So it just something about the live interaction, I think, helps you understand it. And then I can really focus in on what you need to know, right? And you can tell me, this is the one thing I don't get, so we can clear it up. So I think this is going to be valuable. So do I have everyone here now? And I have Sophie twice. Did I get you twice? Okay. So Will and Owen, what is up? It is so funny. Will, Owen, the 3 guys are the only students that haven't figured out how to come in yet.
Sebastian showed up though.
Yeah, but he's a good student. He's like a grown up. He's like, I feel like, see, I teach in college, and I can't, with the ladies, you guys could be in my college class. I couldn't tell. You're the same. There's no difference between you guys and a freshman, sophomore in college. Not so much true for the guys, except for Sebastian. He's like a, but they're good guys. It's just that they're unorganized. They're just like emailing me. I can't figure out how to do it. I don't know. It's like they're, I was probably, when I was 17, I was probably the same way.
Sebastian can be a prom date.
What?
Sebastian can be a prom date.
Yeah, he could. No, he just, and plus he probably came in also because he had me all last year, so he knew how to do it, and he was comfortable with it, and he knew how to do it, and so he was good. So anyway, hopefully we'll get these guys here. I'm going to schedule one more before the quiz, just in case anybody wants to come in and ask any last minute questions. I'm only going to require you to come to one of these sessions before each of the quizzes, and I'll schedule at least 2, sometimes 3, but probably 2. Mm-hmm. So you can come to one or both of them, but I really want you to try to get to at least one. Okay. Okay. Thanks, guys, and have a good weekend, and I'll see you again soon. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.